Hey, welcome back to Introduction to Engineering Design. This is Module 5.5b, and we're working the Automoblox male passenger. So just a quick read through this. We're making this little green fella. We're going to start out by making a square base, extruding that up, making an ellipse pedestal, and then doing a draft extrusion of the ellipse. Then we'll do a trim of that body to create shoulders, and we'll put a head on top and rotate it around. So let's get started. Let's start out with an extrusion in the top plane. Let's go ahead and use a center rectangle to make the base and give that the dimensions of 0.575. You'll notice I'm going to change my document units here, and I'm going to go ahead and make those read to 4 digits. We're a fully defined sketch, so let's exit that sketch, extrude that thing up, and the distance we want to go, I believe, is 0.115. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it is 0.30. And accept that. So the next thing we need to sketch in here is we need to sketch this little, excuse me, elliptical base right there where my fingers are. And we're not going to make this perfect artist rendition, but let's go ahead and get that elliptical base sketched. So we're going to sketch on the top of our square pedestal, and I'm going to place a ellipse at the origin, stretch it out, and get this horizontal or the vertical marker. It doesn't really matter. Let's go for the vertical marker. And now I can pull my ellipse out to create a major and a minor axis. I'll dimension that, and let me start out by dimensioning from my major axis to my origin. That's 0.236. And then from my minor axis to the origin, and that will be 0.155. So with that done, you can say, well, it's not fully defined. You've given it dimensions. Why is it not fully defined? Well, the reason it's not fully defined is because I haven't added a relationship here. And when I sketched it, I didn't establish that relationship between this point and the origin. Once I do that and add a vertical relationship, it goes fully defined. Exit my sketch, and let's go ahead and extrude that up. This one is extruded at 0.115. So now I've got my pedestal for my base. I'm going to do one more sketch, another extrusion, and it's going to be on the surface of my pedestal. Now to create my first outline, what I really want to do is I want to convert my entities. So I'm going to basically pull the sketch from below, pull that line in, and then do an offset on it. And that offset is going to be 0.05 inches. And I'll accept that. Now this line, I can leave it, or I can turn it into a construction line. I can do all sorts of different things here. So I'm going to make it a construction line. I guess I already did it. So there you have it. So let's go ahead and do our extrusion here. Exit my sketch. And I'm going to extrude that up, and now I'm going to go to 0.84 inches in height. Now we've done this over and over here, and we'll go blind. One thing we haven't done is we haven't played with the draft, and the draft button is where my cursor is right now. You see where it says draft on and draft off. I'm going to turn the draft on. I'm going to go to 7 degrees. What you're going to see is it makes a taper unless I go draft outward. No, I make a cone. The reason you'd use a draft is to, principally reason is to use, to make in mold making. Frequently you want to draft in the mold so that you can actually get the part out of the mold. An ice cube tray is a great example of that. So I've done my boss extrude, and I've created my shoulders. So let's go ahead and do a trim of these shoulders next. So you can see if I come over here, I can see different planes. And I'm going to sketch in my front plane because it runs along my major axis, and that's kind of handy. So I'm going to turn it on so I see it all the time. And then I'm also going to go normal to it, and I'm going to start a sketch in that front plane. So I can transfer or convert entities back into this plane quite easily. So I just pulled that bottom edge in. I could pull this top edge in also if I wanted to. So I've got both that top and that bottom edge showing in my sketch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take advantage and draw a center line from the origin, because I have symmetry, all the way up to this very top line and make it coincident. What that does is makes a real nice reference for me to make some symmetrical drawings. So now I'm going to come across my top line, or my midpoint rather, somewhere in here, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to sketch a horizontal line. Let me apply a dimension to this and relate it to my bottom. Make that 1 inch. Make it 1.2 wide. And relate my end to the midpoint so it's evenly distributed. This is one way to do it. So now what I've done is I've just drawn a little bit of a sketch across my plane here. And now I'm going to connect some lines. And connect another line. And what I'm doing is I'm just making a little cutout. And the dimensions aren't necessarily important. I'd encourage you to always fully define your sketches because it does help you later on. It's just a good practice. So I've got my dimensions defined here, and I need to add one more dimension here. Apparently I deleted that. Didn't mean to. Right, that defines that part, and I'm going to put a 3-point arc that starts from my left-hand point to my right-hand point, and the arc is coincident with the very top there. Now you'll notice that I'm not fully defined on this arc because I don't have it laying along the origin there at the top, but I do now. Let me convert this line into a construction line. And now what I've got is a shape that I'm going to do a cut extrude. So I'm going to exit the sketch. So the cut extrude, or extruded cut right here, we've done before to make a hole and to do some other things, but let's go ahead and look real quick at our model, and you can see we're in the middle. So what we can do is a 2-direction cut, and I'm going to go through all in this manner. That's one way to do the cut, and I'm going to cut and flip the side that's going to be cut. So I'm going to leave everything that's inside of my cut and take away everything on the outside. So that's one way to do 2 directions. So what if I didn't want to do 2 directions? I can just come here and go through all both. That effectively does the same thing in this application. And then apply my cut. So what I've done now is I've basically just cut shoulders onto this little dude. I can turn off my view of my front plane now, and I've got the beginning of my body. Now the last thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead and select my sketch right here. And I'm going to turn on the eyeglasses so I can see that sketch. And I'm going to do one more sketch in my front plane. And I've got all this nice reference geometry to use, which is really handy because now I'm going to trace ahead. We talked a little bit about doing this before. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to drop that line quite so quick, so let me try that again. Click, drag, and now I'm going to make an arc. Come back, touch my point, make a slight arc, drop straight down. Again, the geometry is not really that important. Come back, touch my point again, and make another arc. And I'm going to fix this geometry. It's a little bit ugly. There's my head. So if I wanted to dimension this, you can. It'll just help you to get a fully defined sketch as you go through here and you drag in some dimensions. And then also establish some relationships here. And there we go. So now I've got a head. Let's go ahead and exit that sketch, and this time we're going to do a revolve boss. So my axis of revolution is going to be right at the midpoint here, and there's my head. I can come back up into my sketch, and I can turn my sketch off so I don't have to look at that. And there I've got some likeness of my Automoblox guy. That's how you make the Automoblox male figure. Thanks for watching.